What's up guys, Chris, VA Travels, and I'm out here in Tappahannock, Virginia. I'm gonna do one of my walk-arounds, take a look at some of the older buildings in the area. To give you an idea of where I'm at, Tappahannock, it's on the Middle Peninsula, kind of halfway between Fredericksburg and the Chesapeake Bay, and on the south side of the Rappahannock. And to start it off, I'll take a look at the Beale Church that goes back to 1728. And it was originally the town courthouse. It was the courthouse until 1848 when they built the larger building. I'll get to in a little while. So, yeah, then it eventually turned into the Beale Church. 1875, this big belfry was added. And it was the Beale Church until the early 2000s, where it moved to its current location, maybe half a mile or a mile up this Route 17 here. And you'll see these arch windows, arched door. This place was partially burned during the War of 1812 when the town was attacked by the British. And yeah, here you go, Essex County Courthouse, 1728, 1848. And yeah, door right there. You'll see the classic Flemish bond brickwork. They used to burn these headers, glaze them over so this thing would have a sparkly kind of shimmer to it from far away. And just a couple tombstones over here. I'll walk back around. Yeah, so Tappahannock, one of the oldest towns in Virginia, older than Williamsburg, of course Fredericksburg, Richmond, charted out by John Smith, first Englishman to discover the area on his famous search for that Western Passage. Sailed up the Rappahannock. He got as far as Fredericksburg, had to turn around. But he stopped here in Tappahannock and he was immediately chased off by the Rappahannock Indians. There was a tribe here. Yeah, but he was able to map the area. He called the area Tappahannock, which means town on the Rappahannock. And Rappahannock is an indigenous word for water that ebbs and flows. So, all right, so over here, the debtor's prison. Going back, it's pre-1769, and it's one of 3 debtors' prisons still standing in Virginia. And yeah, you could go to jail for being in debt back then. And these were separate from criminal prisons. So yeah, just a small building. Just yeah, 3 bays. Got a little sandstone stepping block. And yeah, these were outlawed, I think, about 1848. So, over here, these are all newer, I guess you would say. And this is kind of the town green right here. Actually, I'm going to take a look at this plaque over here. Yeah, and this willow tree was planted November of 1980. And over here, the USS Tappahannock, commissioned June 1942. It was struck 1976. Huh. Okay. All right, so over here is the Newark courthouse that I had mentioned, built 1848. And walk over here, it's got 3.5 foot thick walls, fireproof walls. 2-story windows right there. Walk around to the front. And yeah, Essex County Courthouse. And something interesting to know about the courthouse is that, yeah, it was renovated 1926. It was renovated by Alfred DuPont from the big DuPont family up there in Wilmington, Delaware. I don't know their connection to this town, but he added the clock and tower up at the top. That's pretty interesting. You can visit Alfred DuPont's home. It's called Nemours, and it's unbelievable if you ever get a chance to check it out. And yeah, some modern buildings. But this was the previous site of the Lucy Gray School. She opened it in 1818, Female Academy. And it was a large two-story building. Eventually there were wings on both sides. Had up to 700 students by 1860. And then in 1965, it was torn down. So over here, the old clerk's office. And yeah, so this thing they think was built about 1808. It was their court clerk's office until it was moved into the courthouse building when that was built to 1848. It was eventually turned into a jail. It also served as a tavern and ordinary and so on. And again, the DuPonts in 1926 helped renovate the building. It became a library. And now it's Women's Club of Essex. So, Civil War monument over here. And this is the local Virginia 55th Regiment. Citizens from the Essex area. Citizens actually came from as far away as King George. Oh, it's Spotsylvania County as well. 27 feet tall. He's facing north. And yeah, I know they saw action, the Battle of Fredericksburg, Chancellorsville, I believe 1st Manassas. And these are all the soldiers. And the cornerstone was laid 1906. So yeah, the sun's hitting it pretty good. So yeah, this was originally the town square, town green. We're on Prince Street, which was the main drag. You can see the Rappahannock River over there. And yeah, this is Cross Street. So big one right here, built back 1706. It's the Meriwether Ritchie House, built by Thomas Meriwether. He originally owned 12 plots, standard half-acre plots. And then in 1768, house was purchased by Archibald Ritchie, and he is the father of Thomas Ritchie. And Thomas Ritchie went on to be, I guess, a famous editor. He founded the Richmond Enquirer, which was the big Confederate newspaper during the Civil War. And you can see this has been added on, different brickwork right there, same style, but yeah, so it's currently a law office. I'll take a walk around the side. You see a little hobbit entrance right there. And again, your Flemish bond, that brick pattern that was popular. I see some porcelain plates in there. And Ritchie's birthplace, born here 1778. Established the Richmond Enquirer, little sundial. Not too much to see back here. take a quick look at this war memorial over here. All right, and yeah, so it just goes through all the veterans of all the famous World War I, II, War of 1812, the French and Indian War. Yeah, so looks like they put this thing up in 2009. Korean War, Vietnam. And yeah, pretty cool display. Oh, and so I was saying earlier, place was first founded by John Smith, but then in the 1850s, a guy named Jacob Hobbs first settled the area. It was called Hobbs Hole for a little while. Became just a kind of a little shipping port. He chose the area because there's deep water anchorage there on the Rappahannock, and the actual Hobbs Hole was maybe about a half a mile, I guess, going west or north on the Rappahannock. Coming into town, if you're coming in from the west, you'll cross a little creek. There's a little marina there, and that's the actual site of Hobbs Hole. And they say there's thousands of pounds of ballast stone in the water there. And ballast stone was just rock that they used to fill the bottom of the ship when it was empty, just to help balance it. So, and then these buildings are all newer. That looks like early 20th century, but no historical significance. This Prince Street Cafe is a pretty popular eatery. Yeah, oh, and I was actually out here last weekend. I've already done this tour. I got home and I realized I had audio issues. So, but all good. I know it better now, so. All right, so an art gallery in there. And over here is the Essex County Museum, which apparently is never open. I've tried a couple times to make a visit. And one time I was rambling coming down 17 and I popped in on a Saturday. They were closed. And I've called a couple times, gotten voicemails, left messages, and yeah, so it's kind of hit or miss. But and it looks like a pretty neat museum. What is this? Little graveyard back here. The Blake Broken Bro Cemetery. Little park over here, Max Silver Memorial Courtyard, and pretty cool place, I guess, just to relax. A couple plaques over here. The golden leaf that built the port. Obviously tobacco got this place going. And talking about that Jacob Hobbs first settled the area 1650. And yeah, they say at any time there are about 10 ships always anchored out there on the river. And this is one of the first big ports on the Rappahannock. Then eventually you had Port Royal, and then you had Fredericksburg. And so this site here was the Manning House. Lived in by this guy, William or Bill Manning. He was a former slave, became a tugboat operator, and his family lived here for 3 generations. There it is. Aerial view. And there's a few more. I don't know if I can go through this gate. Yeah. Iron fence. All right, so over here, this was the Scott's Arm Tavern, and it was owned by a guy, Robert Coleman. And Robert Coleman, late 1600s, basically had a giant plantation that covered all the land here before the town was officially broken out. And the DeRoe family has lived here for the last 100 years. says. And some condominiums over here, and this was the original site of the Dobbins house, and then it became the Riverside Hotel. So yeah, 1899 became the Riverside Hotel. 1972 torn down to make way for this the condominiums. Over here, the old customs house, going back pre-1750 they think it was built, and it was owned by the Archibald Ritchie, who owned the larger house down there. And then eventually 1786 it became the customs house. So getting down here on the river. And over here, the Thomas Downing Bridge, named after Virginia Senator Thomas Downing. And there was originally a ferry that crossed going back to the 1600s. And then in 1927, the first bridge was built. Then the newer bridge was built in 1963, and averages about 14,000 vehicles a day. And there's just a sign here, and there's a little road that wraps up and connects to this Queen. They call this Queen Street. And you can see a couple old piers over there. Water's pretty calm. Join the adventure. I've seen these, they've got these maps all around talking about John Smith's historic routes. And here's the one I keep mentioning in red, his second voyage, September of 1608, okay? And yeah, like I say, went up, bam, Tappahannock. I don't know if he stopped in Port Royal, but it was quickly settled, and then boom, hit the falls there in Fredericksburg. There's his famous map right there. Unbelievably accurate. And talking about the Native American tribes in the area. Again, the map. 1612. He drew that thing up. And here's an old compass, or I guess navigational instrument. And yeah, it's pretty amazing how accurate they were back then with those crude instruments, just pretty much relying on the sun, the stars, and the horizon. So, all right, walk back over here. All right, a couple of people down there fishing. Yeah, it's crazy how wide the Rappahannock is down here. And on the other side, you've got the Northern Neck, Richmond County. You've got Warsaw over there. And I think I mentioned in a video I did the other day down at John Tyler's house down in Charles City that was probably the biggest hotbed of historical homes, plantation homes in the area. Well, number two would probably be the river basin over there. You've got Mount Airy, you've got Minokin, Sabine Hall. Sabine Hall is probably straight ahead, back a little ways. Like I said, it's a really marshy area, really fertile area. And Mount Airy would be the left of the bridge. And to tell you some other things, kind of interesting, that this town actually saw action during the War of 1812. And you had British troops stationed on Tangier Island, and about 4,000 or so coming up on 8 of the bigger square rig vessels. 13 schooners came upriver, and they were pretty much would just attack all the towns. And that Archibald Ritchie, who I had mentioned a couple times, got word. He was the head of the local militia. Got word they were on their way, and he kind of mustered up 50 men, which was pretty much nothing. And they had one cannon. So when the British arrived, I don't know, the skirmish didn't last long. They ended up fleeing town. But yeah, the British bombarded the town. They hit the side of the Brockenborough house. That house right there is the Anderton house. To the left of it is the Brockenborough house. The cannonball went inside, hit a mantle inside. It's been rebuilt. It's still there. Anyway, so yeah, the British pretty much ransacked the town. They occupied it for about 3 days. They burned a couple of the jails, and they burned down part of that Beale church I was at in the very beginning. So, yep, Rappahannock. And now I'm gonna head back up here. I'm gonna take a left. I think it's called Water Street, and then there's a couple more houses over there. Okay, so yeah, coming up off Water Street. It's a historic district, and I guess we're leaving the big town and headed down this way, more of a residential area. And this building up to the left with the old Betsy Ross flag, that would be the Henley House. It was also Emerson's Tavern. And the building goes back to 1710. (1757), Emerson purchased it, and older chimney. There's an outhouse back there. It looks like they're doing some sort of restoration. And over here is a pretty big one. They're calling this the Roan Croxton House, built 1850. By Lawrence Roan. Roan family was a big family in the area. There's a Spencer Roan who owned Mahogany Plantation here in Essex County. And building back here was the slave quarters and a kitchen. I see another building to the left of that longer one. That goes back to the 1840s. And it's now the Essex Inn. And brick building, a stucco on the side, obviously painted white. A little story with this goes, during the Civil War, somebody had climbed up and fastened a white bed sheet to the chimneys to show its neutrality, but it eventually was taken over by Union forces. And yeah, 12 rooms. Each room has a fireplace leading into those 4 chimneys. And yeah, I guess if you're ever in town, that's where you can stay. Shot of the front. And over here, an old Gothic church, wooden Gothic church. This thing goes back to 1849. Little story with this, the original bell at the top was taken down during the Civil War, taken to Tredegar Iron Works, and melted down for ammunition. And Virginia Scott, daughter of Thomas Croxton, and he was a prominent judge in the area. The Croxtons in 1875 had purchased that Essex Inn. So yeah, I'll just take the St. John's Episcopal Church. Yeah, Thomas Croxton right there, the big one. All right, so I'm gonna take a walk. There's a few houses down by the river. Take a look at. Okay, coming up on the back of the house. Looks like a couple buzzards up there. Zoom in when I took off. Anyway, this is currently a dormitory to the St. Margaret School, female academy. And yeah, the original building in the center goes back to 1760. And this land was all part of that big, on the other side of these condominiums. Kind of a beach vibe over here. But yeah, all this was part of the Roger Coleman's plantation, late 1600s, early 1700s. In 1903, John Brockenbrough purchased the house, and he's the father of John Brockenbrough Jr., who built the house in Richmond that became the Confederate White House. His other son, lived in the house next door. I'm not sure which of these two. I see the chimneys are on kind of the more narrow building. I don't know if that's original. Hard to tell. Looks like they built a little cut through. But this guy again. Oh, and the Andertons moved in late 1800s. So, all right, I'm gonna walk back up this Prince Street, take a left on Water Street, and then there's a couple more houses along the river. All right, yeah, a couple houses up here to the left. Hopefully I can get a good look at them. The sign on this house here, it says the Chin House. And I know there was a Judge Chin back in the 1920s who, here it is, the Brockenbrough house. He lived in the Brockenbrough house. They owned a larger house over in Richmond County. And I see a driveway going up. I don't really want to walk up it. And yeah, so the original house built on this property goes back to 1683. And it was built by Edward Hill. I assume the same Edward Hill that built Shirley Plantation down there on the James River. But anyway, the current house was built 1763 by an Archibald McCall. And he's got a little bit of a story. During the Stamp Act, he was a loyalist. He supported the Stamp Act. And there was a big gathering and a riot broke out. And supposedly he was tarred and feathered. So, yeah, that didn't go over too well. And then, so yeah, the Thomas Brockenbrough is his name, the son of the John Brockenbrough that purchased the Anderton house next door. Lived here, and this is the house also that took shelling, took a cannonball from that War of 1812 attack. So, and it's now part of that St. Margaret's school, girls' school. There's a bunch of little girls running around. So this here would be the Gordon Wright House. Again, we're still on all this land. This is kind of the main building for that St. Margaret's girls' school. And built 1840 by Thomas Gordon. And you can see the original part of the building. The chimneys kind of mark it off there. Again, I don't want to walk up there, but yeah, girls boarding school, grades 8 to 12, St. Margaret School, built founded 1921. So, all right, that's it for my walk around of Tappahannock. As always, if you like these kinds of videos, like and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram and also support me on Patreon. See ya.